We're waiting for Amy to click record.
I did click record. It says it's recording.
Okay. All right. Well, we're up and running. Welcome everybody to the One Person Big Difference Monday night call. It's 7:31. We want to welcome you. Tonight, it's going to be hosted by myself, Grant, and my wife, Amy. We're from just outside of the Des Moines area in Iowa. So, welcome. Before we get started with a bunch of announcements, I do want to open it up. Drop a one in the chat if this is your first ever one person big difference team call. We want to take a moment to welcome you, to congratulate you. We want to encourage you. So I'm watching the chat. Do we have anybody here for their first time? Oh, we got some twos, some who have been here before. Hey, another thing, if you, everybody could take a moment, drop the state that you're from in the chat. Let's see where everybody's from. What kind of representation do we have? It's always fun to see how diverse we are and how much this has grown. Well, the agenda for this evening is we're going to start with coupons. There's something exciting going on with coupons. You've probably heard the buzz about coupons. It's a buzzword right now. So we'll start there. We're going to move into Fast Track and Era. Okay. Then we're going to hear from some growth summiters. Okay. They just came back yesterday from Growth Summit. We're going to hear from their firsthand experience and introduce you to them. And then we're also going to end the call with some stories of individuals. What did we call it? Launch to leading at the front of the room. So starting your own business and getting to the front of the room. That's where we're going to end it tonight. So coupons, something that's very exciting. It was just announced here on the 18th. Everybody who is an existing consultant, you currently will have the option of three customer coupons and one consultant coupon. Please note that your customer coupons are going to expire on the 25th. So we got a couple days left to create that excitement. The consultant coupon will expire at the end of the month. But this is something that is so exciting because we're going to have this on months going forward. So starting in May, you'll have the option to have three customer coupons and three consultant coupons. And the way that it's been described to me is for the customer coupons. Those will expire 8 days after their enrollment date. Okay, so there's some time there to really get that information out, and that really aligns with some excitement and fast track. So think about that. And then secondly, those consultant coupons, those 10% offs there for consultants as well on a qualified pack. That's a key verbiage there too. They will get one full month after their enrollment, and then those will expire. So, really exciting there. Now, jumping into Fast Track. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I think it's really important to know where you guys can find this information for yourself. So, if we're on the LifeVantage home screen, and we want to learn about Fast Track, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to the bottom of the screen here. Lots of great links down here that are going to be referenced, but we're going to jump up to the LifeVantage compensation plan right here. And that's going to bring us to this. I've already got it pulled up, but it'd bring you to this. And we've got this great graphic you can share with people, share the link. And you come down here and we have the customer track. Okay. And look at that. It is $50 for each set of three eligible customers. I don't think that's an accident that you're getting three customer codes, 10% off that go in line with Fast Track right away to earn that additional $50. And if you read around this little graphic right here, it says you have 3 full calendar months of Fast Start. So what's my qualification? Inside of Fast Start, it's going to be right there. You have 3 full months for it. So if it's like, well, I don't know exactly what it is, or what about teamies on your team? Log into your back office. Here's an example back office. You have these options at the top. Drop into Fast Track right here, and you'll have an option of individuals and of your personally enrolled, and then this will be your organizational fast track, and it'll list those names here. So something that's really exciting. I should have logged into our other account. It would have been a better example. There had been some icons there, but it will tell you the dates. It will tell you the progression on your customer and consultant tracks. So very exciting there. But let's not forget ERA as well, right? Enroll, retain, and advance. So once again, if you go lifevantage.com, you scroll to the bottom of the screen, you're going to see the ERA incentive. You'll click on it and you'll get to this page right here. So we are in March and June. Okay, we're actually in April now. So the way that you qualify for the enroll is 750 SV in total or above, and at least 150 of that coming from a consultant, and then you get a track. So if anybody's gotten a track already under this ERA incentive, how about you drop a 2 in the chat for those who have qualified? Let's see how many people have qualified for the tracks there. So then there is the retain, there is the advanced portion of that as well. Just exciting ways that we're continued to be paid for the normal business activities that we're doing. So that's the coupons, that's Fast Track, that's ERA. Let's jump into Growth Summit. Once again, scroll to the bottom of lifevantage.com. You'll be able to click Growth Summit 2024. There are 143 days until the next actual event. So that means you're currently in a qualification period. What does that mean? So January to June 2024 is the current qualification period. And what you need to do is rank advance to MC1. That's 10,000 in volume. And then maintain that for 2 additional consecutive months. Or if you were already an MC1 and maybe you just haven't maintained, you need to maintain paid as MC1 for 3 consecutive months and not previously have gone to Growth Summit. So what is Growth Summit? We have a couple people on here tonight, but the qualifiers inside of One Person Big Difference, I have the list right here. We had Dana Hawley, Leanne Hawley, Dr. Jennifer Katzer, Phil and Karen Scow, and Dr. Cheryl Bones. Now, Cheryl didn't attend this last one. She's going to go to the next one, so she won't be speaking tonight. Dana and Leanne had some trouble traveling back. They missed a flight, so think about them. Say a prayer for them. I think they're probably in the air right now, flying home, so safe traveling mercies for them. But we do have Dr. Jennifer Katzer, and we have Phil and Karen Scow. So Phil and Karen, if you would unmute, Amy, if you'd find them and unmute them, if that helps too. Give me a hello once you're off the mute. There they are.
Off mute.
There we are. Hey, they're off mute. Okay, so I didn't preface you for this or prepare you for this, but can you tell the individuals on the call the format of Growth Summit from the second you got off the plane to when you were driving back to the airport leaving Growth Summit? Would you go over the agenda and what it looked like?
So they pay for your flight and your hotel and the food while you're there. So you go with not a whole lot of worry. The 2 of us went, so there's a kick in for 2 of us to go. But when we got off our flight, there was someone from LifeVantage who met us at the airport. They had an iPad with our name on it and others' names as well. But there were 3 or 4 of us that they picked up, and then they took us to the hotel directly. And that was on Friday. And so then Friday evening, they had dinner for us, and we went not terribly far from the hotel, but there was like this beautiful facility that had a tulip festival and all these other events. But we went in, and the first dinner, they had some games set up that not only encouraged you, but you had to participate. And the goal is to meet other people and to learn from them. So they had a sheet prepared where they'd have things like, I have a fear of heights. We have the same birthday month, all these things. And then we had to go in and talk to others in the room that had been invited to Growth Summit and get them to sign their name. And so that was like a forced way to break that ice and start meeting people. And it was amazing because I'll tell you right now, that's not an area I'm comfortable in for the most part. And it was a lot of fun. We started at the table where it was comfortable and we went from there. And then pretty soon we're talking to, there was a large group that came from other countries. So Japan and the Philippines and China and Mexico, and we didn't even speak the same language. And we were finding ways to communicate with each other and check off those boxes. So they did some things like that, and corporate came in and they had a good, what would say, maybe 15, 20 people up in front of the room, and they introduced themselves so that we knew who we were working with. And then we had a really nice supper. Do you want to talk about Saturday?
Saturday, we started off and we did a training in the morning. We did a half day of training, pretty intensive. We had two of the leaders in the company, Mark, who is Shinsato, and he's probably one of the very top ones, has multiple presidentials underneath him. Very down to earth gentleman. And then Kim Kubinski from Minnesota. So we had to talk to our Minnesota friend. And so both did a great job. We did leadership. Afternoon, we did more of breakout sessions, did photo headshots of us, got to see corporate offices, did a outreach project.
The
legacy project. And then that evening we went to Sundance, which is Robert Redford's ski resort. They took us by buses to that, unbelievably gorgeous. Had a wonderful dinner and did some more training there. And during that one, we actually sat down. We sat with Steve Fife at our table, a couple other corporate people. Let's talk with them. So throughout the whole thing, corporate was extremely accessible, and you got to know them intimately, I would say. So
yeah, that was probably one of our biggest takeaways is I had never thought about the fact that if I needed assistance with reviewing our business and things that we're working on, that we can actually get on the phone and call corporate, and their sales people are there to help us. And so we felt very much not only celebrated for getting there and being a part of that group, but just continued and even a greater acknowledgement of how incredible LifeVantage corporate is and their willingness and their dedication to what they can do for us so that we continue to grow and expand. And that was really huge. And then Sunday was just breakfast was provided, but through all those times, just that continued growth of meeting other people and having those conversations about what they've done to grow their business and to get there, and meeting people that went with social media and others that do the knee to knee, and just the growth in those relationships is huge.
All right. One last question to you guys. How long have you guys been a part of LifeVantage?
6 years. So
6
it's been up and down for us, but this has been a goal. What was Pro 5 before has been a goal of ours, which we kind of saw as one of our first advancement steps. And it took us a while to get here. The way we qualified, because we had been MC1 for some time, we had to do that 3-in-1 for 3 consecutive months.
After San Antonio.
Yeah, San Antonio. That's when we decided, when they say that, and I didn't always believe it, that decisions are made in San Antonio. We sat down and we made that decision that was our goal and we were going to do it, because the qualification period at that point, you had to hit it by December. So we had to hit October, November, December. And we did it, and it's the best thing ever. You've got to do it. If you haven't been there, you've got to find a way to get there.
Get your team there.
Decisions are made at events. I think that's the full sentence right there. That's why we encourage and promote those. And you hear just so many incredible stories from events, because that's where life-changing decisions take place. All right. We're going to give Dr. Jennifer Katzer here a moment as well. And let me just preface, she's currently on a mountain. She has a backpack on, and she's zooming in from her phone. How cool is it that we get to do this business everywhere, literally? But Dr. Jen, would you just give us maybe one or two, because we still have a couple people left with Amy, and Amy's going to get on my case if I don't leave her enough time. You know how this works. But a couple nuggets that really stuck out to you that apply to this crowd here?
I think my big takeaway is really put your heart into this all the way. And every time you meet with somebody about LifeVantage, think about how you would want to be led and how you would want to be served, and have a servant heart. And if you can keep your heart in that place of being a servant leader, you will grow this business. It's just a matter of time and connecting with more and more people and serving more and more people. But when we got to see both Kim and Mark speak this weekend, you knew at the root, like, those people are servant-hearted leaders, and they love taking care of their customers, and they love taking care of their consultants, and they just can't help but continue to bless people.
Awesome. And Dr. Jennifer, how long have you been with LifeVantage?
I have been with LifeVantage for 14 months now, so just a little over a year.
Awesome. So Phil and Karen, 5 or 6 years. Dr. Jennifer, you said 14 months. Congratulations to the both of you. The reason why I bring that up is too many times we get inside our head and we measure ourselves off of somebody else's timeline. And these two here didn't do that, and they continued to show up. And I just want to encourage you to not get into that measuring against other people's timelines. Mm-hmm. It's possible, like Dr. Jen said, if you have that heart and that servant attitude for people, you're going to get there. It's just a matter of time. Dr. Jennifer, thanks so much. Safe travels home. Enjoy the time with your family. So with that, I'm going to punt it over to my beautiful wife, Amy Dippold. Take it away, hon.
Hey, everybody. Oh, my goodness. Drop it in the comments if you're running for Growth Summit this month, because this is the final month to qualify to hit those 3 months before you go on the next trip. So I'd love to see who's running for Growth Summit this month, because I know I have one of my speakers who's doing it right now. She's running. But guys, one of the titles of this call tonight, I want to do a little bit of a discussion and training too on from launch to leading to the front of the room. So how many people just launched their business? If you have your camera, I'd love to see hands. Did you just launch your business? Okay. How many people out there have been doing this a while? Like Phil and Karen, right? They've been here a while. They've been doing this a while. Yeah, there's a lot of us out there. And then, everybody's timeline is different, like Grant said, but I want to share with you a couple of stories, because I'll never forget when I first launched my business. We just had our 8-year anniversary this month with LifeVantage. Yay! 8 years. We launched in April of 2016 as consultants. And my whole story is for another time. We had been customers for a year, but you know where we started? We went to an event. And events are so powerful. And I know that there's people building on social media. I know there's people building knee to knee. We kind of do a hybrid of both. But we got brought to an event, and I'll never forget sitting in that audience, guys. And you just have to know where my mindset was that I had no influence. My mindset was that I didn't have the ability to do things. My mindset was, I very, very small and insignificant. Okay. But in that meeting, I saw people going across that stage, and they were sharing their testimonies. And then I saw people up there sharing the business opportunity. And then I saw people up there sharing the training, because it was a longer training event. And I'll never forget sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, if that person can go up there and they're making that much money, maybe I could learn how to do this. But I don't know how to regurgitate what they said. How many people were there or are there right now? Like, you're watching people present and you're like, I can't do what they do, right? Well, that was me. But guess what? I dropped from my head to my heart. That day, I felt like the Lord was like, Amy, you are doing this. This is greater than what you're telling yourself right now, right? I'm like, I had an obligation. It became a moral obligation the moment that I heard a doctor say he could help more people proactively than he ever could reactively as a doctor. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is big, right? So that's the first exposure where it was like big. It was big for me. Then I went home and I didn't know what the heck. What do I do? My husband's the businessman. He's the guy that does sales. I don't know how to sell anything. I just love people. I do behavioral health. I'm a counselor, right? I don't have a marketing background. How many people get in your head about that? Okay. I had never stood in front of the room and given an opportunity meeting, but that is where, when we launched, I am so thankful. We signed up April 2nd. I found the next influential people in my life, my parents. They signed up April 3rd as consultants. But it was just so cool because, not everybody has that opportunity, but my parents carried influence, guys. I found somebody that has influence. My mom's a physical therapist. They've been in this town all my life. Guess what? Our upline, who knew how to do the presentation, drove to their house and they did a launch. They had like 20 people in a room. How many people would love to have 20 people in a room? And we all showed up and we did this meeting. It was like, launches are huge, but I didn't know how to do any of it. I had to rely 100% on my upline. And they showed up and they did the presentation. I was like, wow, this is cake. I stood there and I watched these people do this presentation that, again, I have no idea how to regurgitate what I just saw. That was so amazing. But these people said yes. The people in the room said yes. And I watched them help them get their orders in. Okay. Definitely not cake, but they made it look so easy. But no, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I could never do this. So we host another meeting. And my beloved mentor, Gail, she walks over to me before the meeting and she's like, you're going to tell the company story today. And I was like, oh, no, I don't know the company story. I can't share in front of this room of people. Like, are you? No, she's like, it's okay. She's like, you can just read it off this sheet of paper. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do not want to do this. Guys, I was terrified to get in front of that room, but I am thankful every time I get in front of a room now that she made me do that. And that's what I want you to see, is that I didn't just, when you see somebody up on stage, they didn't get there overnight. They didn't get there by doing 1 or 2 presentations. They didn't get there and speak so amazingly by accident. They did it over and over and over and over and over again. And the way that we train our team, specifically when we're doing a launch, I tell people, hey, let's get a bunch of people in a room. The first thing I want you to focus on is how to invite. And that's another Zoom for another time, but just a simple invite to get butts and seats, because I'm going to do 100% of your meeting for you. And you have to trust that I can do this. Well, what they saw my presentation already, they know what my presentation is going to be, right? Are your people seeing your presentations? Are they seeing you get in front of the room? You need that social proof. So I want to challenge you guys, no matter where you're at in your business, if you are just launching now, or if you've been around for a while, I want you to start getting in front of the room, however that may be. So what we like to do is we like to do 100% the first time for our people. And then we're going to do what Gail did. Hey, I want you to tell this much, like the story, and I'll cover the rest. And then we're doing like 50-50. I want you to do the first part. I'll do the second part. And then we're stepping back and we're watching them do it 100% in front of the room for their people. And so, guys, it works, but it only works if you are booking meetings. When Gail made me get up in front of that room and tell that story, shaking and quivering and sweating through my shirt, it unlocked something in me. And I went home and I started meeting. I said, hey, I'm really bad at doing this presentation. Can I practice with you? I started setting up one-on-one meetings. I started sitting in front of people. I started doing small group things in my home just to tell them, my friends, can I practice? Guys, I want you to start practicing more, because when you start getting in front of that room, you're going to still have a lot of secret meetings, okay? Like over the 8 years that I've done this, we've hosted lots. Have you ever had a secret meeting? Do you know what that is? Where you invite everybody to come, you get a lot of maybes and maybe one yes, and then nobody shows up. Yeah, that's a secret meeting. Don't get down on yourself. Keep doing it. And then practice your presentation regardless. I had a dog sitting in the room one time. I just practiced in front of him. And so that's how I want to encourage you. But I want you to hear it from a couple of our people. I have 2 guests this last weekend. They're teammates of mine who they just stepped up. And what's really, really cool is the first one I want to have speak is Rachel. Rachel got in the car with her 4 kids and her husband. She drove to another town to actually help her sister, who's her upline, do a meeting. She's like, hey, I've done this before. You've never done this. I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to help you. And Rachel, I just would love for you to share just a couple minutes, like, where did you start? And she sent me this beautiful message too, when she was on her way to do that. And what are you doing now? And where are you going with this, with your, from launch to leading at the front of the room? What's your vision?
I'll start off by saying it took me too long, Amy. It took me too long. I have done in-homes before. Actually, it started when Amy and Grant came to me and did the meeting for me. And I remember watching them present and I'm like, I mean, Amy and Grant, that's how I feel about them. Okay. Like, how am I ever going to say what they said? How am I ever going to do that? Like, wow. Okay. I just didn't see it. I didn't see it, but they saw it and they kept saying to me in that moment, like, you're going to do this. Okay. Now it's your turn to do this. And you guys, I did like 5 meetings in a year, like in a year, too slow. But in doing those, you know, you have slow growth, right? And I learned how to do it and I would host in my home and it's happened. And a few weeks ago, another teammate of mine put together a Zoom meeting and she had a panel and she invited me to be on the panel. And I spoke on that panel. And for the first time, and part of it was my husband was with me and he spoke also and he shared his testimony. And for the first time, I felt like, I know what I'm talking about. Like, oh my goodness, I don't just love this product and I'm like fumbling around looking for it. It's like, I know my stuff. Like if you ask me, I can talk about it and I can talk about it fluently and I can share about it in detail. And I feel confident. Like that was a turning moment for me. And so when my sister had never done a meeting before and she is my upline and I was like, you got to have one. You got to speak. Let me come to you and let's do one. And she did. And I was excited for her in that moment too, because when you have your first meeting, it changes you. It really does. But also for myself, my second meeting where I spoke and I felt like, oh my goodness, I know my stuff. And I regret that I didn't have more meetings. And I also think, just a tip here, don't host in your home, because when I host in my home, I get comfortable. I do. I'd sit back and when the meeting's done, I kind of like just talk to people about life because that's who I am. And we would talk about all kinds of things and we'd get sidetracked and I'd never close because I'm in my home, in my living room. But there's something about being on Zoom. When my sister hosted, she did it in a library. When you're in those other places, there's a professionalism about you and you really close better. And so I would suggest that too to people. If you can find a different place other than your living room, you just present different. You just are different. And yeah, I feel now I'm like, let's go. What was I waiting for? I've got a meeting on May 4th. I'm ready to book them all because I waited too long for this. And I realized I could have grown a lot faster. I would have been more confident if I just did this process faster.
And for those of you who don't know too, Rachel Foss is an absolute beauty on social media. And what she doesn't realize is she actually has been presenting in her stories almost every day for the past year. And I have watched her become fluent because she's been practicing it out loud, even if it's just to a general audience, not necessarily a presentation, but she has also consistently shown up to team meetings. She's consistently shown up to events. Like when we traveled to Nashville, she brought her whole family out there. She's been consistently learning and absorbing, but then she's been practicing on her social media so that when she stepped in front of that room, it just flowed, right? It just flowed on that Zoom. And so I just want to encourage you guys, keep showing up, keep plugging in, keep digesting the information, but then be regurgitating it because you're going to start learning how to smoothly talk about things. And then go back and once in a while, listen to yourself. I don't always listen to myself, but when I do, I catch myself saying, and I'm like, ooh, I gotta stop that. I just did it again. And so you just become better and better and more fluent. And then I see Rachel and I hear her talking and I'm just like, wow, she's a pro. And people need to be put in front of her because when they are, they're going to be blessed, right? Just like all of you sitting out there. So the way I know we're just hitting 8 o'clock and I don't want to rush this because the last person I want to talk, amazing Jen D here. See, I just but Jen D, she is running for MC1 this month so that she can hit her 3 months in a row for Growth Summit. And guys, I just want to like cheer her on so big. But I just came from a meeting this weekend too, and I think one of the most beautiful blessings in this business is where, you know, you launch your business and you go to the front of the room and you lead. And then there's a time when your teammates step in and they go to the front of the room and you go to the back and you sit, sorry, you sit there and you look at them and you're like, I see so much greatness in that person and I am so excited for them. That's the most empowering thing doing this business, you guys. I did not, Tanya, I got emotional. Oh, it hit me because I'm sitting there and I'm watching her and I'm like, I have teammates here right now that are better than I am. How beautiful is that? And I think that that's a point where all of us want to get to. And so, Jen, I want you to close it up too and talk about where did you launch? How did you launch? And then how did you get yourself to that front of that room? And where are you going?
Well, I won't say but I will try. What the heck, Amy? Why'd you start doing that? Thank you for that. Thank you for inviting me. I know we're short on time, you guys. I'll give you a condensed version. I got involved with Amy in end of December, beginning of January of 2022. My son joined a homeschool basketball league, and it was there I met Amy and Grant. It was through their example, and Amy sitting down with me to talk about oxidative stress that I became intrigued. I signed on right away, but not without a three-way call from Jalen Fisher. I'm a single parent, and so that $1,000 business pack was a lot of money to spend for me, but having a track record of God's faithfulness and his provision financially, I remembered that. And so I signed on, to which God proved himself faithful again, and I made my return on investment in 2 weeks. So it was from there that I dove in head first. I studied product through YouTube. I studied product through overviews, through webinars. I memorized ingredients by writing them down. I engulfed myself in learning the ins and outs of how and why our products work together, separately, all the things. I went to every single local event and I watched. I just watched. I memorized the slides and I memorized our story. When Amy asked me to host a meetup at my house a couple weeks after signing on, I said yes. We met in my home and then we met again and again and again. So I signed on December 28th, and I believe by April, I was doing presentations in my home on my own. Amy came one time and she did half of it, the product part, and then I did the product part and she did the business part. So there again, she talked about the 50-50. And then I was able to do those on my own. I have a little bit of maybe advantage because I'm also a teacher. So it's real easy for me to get in front of a room and to speak. So just presenting came naturally to me. Doesn't mean it can't come naturally to everybody else. But so in between all of those presentations, I attended all local team Zooms and all of these calls with the larger team as well. She let me speak on those calls too. I watched teammates here in my hometown and I watched you all. So I tried to apply the tactics as though they were my own, but I know I'm like still working on that. So to all of you who are watching, you've been a huge part in my journey as well. I think the biggest thing was I remained coachable, meaning literally everything Amy asked me to do, you guys, I said yes. And then I followed through. And everything she challenged me with, I said yes. And then I followed through. So she is an amazing mentor. She asked me to go from in-home to Zoom. So I did a long haul Zoom with her while we were, or long haul COVID Zoom, because we were in a group together. So that was my first experience with the Zoom call. I did it with her. And then shortly after this, my amazing friend and sister in Christ, Sarah Pessman, came on, who is also a leader and a mentor in her own right. I traveled to our hometown. She's still there, but it's 3.5 hours away from me multiple times to help her launch. I presented for her. I trained her. I taught her until she was ready and able to start sharing on her own. So I would say I've been there 7 or 8 times, if not more. But again, just helping people along until they're ready to fly. So Sarah's been a huge addition to our team. If you've watched that everyday panel a couple of weeks ago, that was her idea and she executed it so well. So I haven't reinvented anything with the system. I just duplicated it, and that's so important. So things were quiet for a while. My business has remained stable, but what's happened during this time is that it's grown me. So I didn't know how to really make that happen just because of past trauma or negative self-talk or disbelief in myself, or I can't be the only one who feels that way. So I'm just saying, if that's what you're going through, like, just learn how to grow you. I started reading John Maxwell books, and the first book I read of his was The 360-Degree Leader, which was how to lead in the middle, which was where we are right now. So I wanted to instill that into our local team. And so when Amy and Jalen would ask me to host our local calls, I would share with them how you could still lead no matter where you are. It's not about position, it's about your disposition, is what Maxwell says. So that hit me home. Anyways, so yeah, I just kept growing myself. And then we just brought in another rock star, another friend of mine, Katisha. And so I'm excited to help her. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to walk beside her and help her and present for her and teach her and help her to grow until she's ready to lead on her own. So I just want to close with this, but I've said, like, I've done this, I did this, now that's, like, it's not me. It's by the grace of God that I'm here. And Grant and Amy have been, they've been a saving grace, honestly. So it's just so fun to, like, I mean, they've held my hand, but they've let me soar at the same time. And so that's what leaders do. Leaders create leaders, and that's what they've done. And I hope that I'm holding up my end of the bargain on that one. But to my team that's on here from local team, I love you. Thank you for all your love and support. And then to the larger team who's with us here tonight, you know, we're watching you and you're doing an amazing job. And so keep leading and keep inspiring us as we move along.
Holy smokes. Mic drop, guys. Mic drop. I know I'm sorry. Jen should have just led the whole call. But it's just like, I don't know, you step back, and guys, this is the power of when you launch and you make those decisions and you take those steps each and every step of the way. Like she said, she had an amazing teammate join, and there was a dry spell where she had a hard time finding another teammate, and she just prayed, and the Lord just has blessed her recently with another teammate to just run with. And guys, you can relate to so much of this. Just take it and apply it and decide you're going to do it. Okay, with that said, I'll let you all go. Have an amazing week, everybody.